Hello, welcome to A Week in Watches, episode 60. This is a weekly look back at the people, watches, and stories from the industry. My name is Blake Bettner. I'll be your host this week. A quick heads up before we get into this week's episode. The Week in Watch series will be moving to an every other week format. This will allow us to bring a higher quality production and a broader slice of the news to you. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere, and you'll still be able to get all the weekly news that you like on our podcast and on the One and One website, and we'll still be doing this every other week. We would love to hear your feedback. What do you think about this series? And most of all, we appreciate every single one of you that comes back every week to watch A Week in Watches. And we look forward to diving into this new format next month. Before we jump in, a quick shout out to this week's sponsor, Artem Straps, making really beautiful synthetic straps. We'll have a lot more of them later on in the episode. Stay tuned. All right, let's get back to it. Leading things off with a wrist check here, I'm wearing an Omega Speedmaster with the 3861 movement and the acrylic crystal, of course. We're kicking things off this week with a new watch from Norqain. This is a new Wild One that is ready for summer. They've got a new open-worked skeletonized dial on the Wild One, and one of the new models comes with a bright blue strap and case accents. It's really sharp, especially if you are partial to the Wild One, but you weren't quite fond of the N motif dial that they had going on. This takes all that away, and you've just got your hour markers running around the outside, and then a nice look into the base plate of the movement. It's really unique and adds a bit of uncommon style to this sport watch. This is a watch that we've reviewed. Of course, we'll have the link to our full review on this watch down below. All the other details stay about the same. It's 42 millimeters in diameter. Price-wise, $5,790. There's also a limited edition burgundy model with the open work dial that will have you flying a little bit further under the radar than the bright blue option. But hey, this is summer. Let those colors fly. Next up, we have a new collaboration from our friends at Messina Lab and Revolution magazine by our friend Wei Ko. This is a new Uni-Racer. Do you remember that one from the other year? This is a great platform. It's a 39 millimeter dual register chronograph. This one is highly referential to a vintage Patek Philippe reference. There are just 120 pieces of these being made. I particularly like the blue accents that are added to the black dial. They add a really nice touch. And this is a design language that has been really refined by Revolution Mag. If you look at some of their past collaborations that they've done with the likes of Baltic, Laurent Ferrier, Chopard, Vulcain even, you can really see the same DNA at work here in this Messina Lab Uni-Racer collaboration. And this one does not say Uni-Racer on the dial, it just says Messina. What are your feelings on that? The watch overall is pretty sharp, and I really like this design direction that Revolution is carving out for themselves in their collaborations. So hats off to these two on this Uni-Racer. And that will be priced at $3,750. And before we move on to our next story, a quick word from this week's sponsor, Artem Straps. Artem is a modern watch strap maker out of Australia who couldn't quite find a modern sailcloth strap up to their standards, thus beginning their journey to create a high-quality sailcloth style watch strap that they'd want to wear every day, no matter the activity. Artem developed a meticulous material selection process which landed on a unique blend of materials that offer just the right finish, flexibility, and water resistance. The upper side of their straps are an embossed synthetic, while the underside is a combo of coated leather and natural rubber. The results speak for itself. Straps with that classic look and functionality of sailcloth, but with the outer satin sheen they've become known for, and quality usually only found in very high OEM straps. Visit artemstraps.com to learn more about the brand and its array of products. As a guy who's pretty fond of sailcloth straps, I found the Artem straps really incredible on the watch and on wrist. And now, back to the episode. Speaking of Vulcain, they have a new watch that's coming out this week. Well, it's really based on an old watch, actually, and then a kind of new watch. They re-released this 10 years ago for the 50th anniversary. This was kind of under a different group of ownership, and they are bringing it back now 10 years later for its 60th anniversary, the Vulcain Nautical Cricket. It's one of my favorite vintage watch designs, and it is really quirky and charming. This is an alarm watch, being a Vulcain and a cricket. You might have put that together. So you can time your dives, but it also has a dial that rotates. And it rotates to show a certain section of numbers that will give you your times for your decompression stops on your way up from your dive, depending on the depths that you were at and how long you were there. It's a bit confusing, and we'll have more of this in the full article on More and Wound, but even if you're not using it for diving, the look of it is just so unique and beautiful, and I think Vulcain has really nailed it with this reissue. Is it a reissue? I don't know, but it's kind of a modern take on the Vulcain Nautical Cricket, and I think it works just as well as the original did. This will be priced at $4,862. It uses a manufacturer hand-wound movement as well. So hopefully we'll get our hands on that one pretty soon for a full review. All right, next up, we've got a new watch from Linde Werdelin. This is another diver, almost the total other end of the spectrum from that Vulcain. This is kind of a through and through modern thin ply carbon Diver. This falls in their Octo collection. It's an Octo Moonphase. It's really beautiful execution of the Moonphase too, so you can kind of see the open work phases of the moon around the dial as it goes. Of course, it's got the oversized 3, 9, and 12 on the dial, and the 8-sided case remains untouched. The 8-sided case is 44 millimeters in diameter and 46 millimeters in length. These wear really beautifully on the wrist though. They have a way of kind of curving around the wrist, especially with the integrated rubber straps. I just love these things. This one comes in at $22,141. It's a lot of money, but it's a very unique watch. If you like to live on the high end of your adventures, this is a perfect tool for you. All right, finally, we are closing out with a new watch from Oris. You may remember a couple of years ago, Oris came out with a limited edition Roberto Clemente Big Crown Pointer date. This is a really beautiful colorway inspired by the Pittsburgh Pirate uniforms, but it didn't really reference his name or number anywhere on the dial in a major way. So even if you weren't into the baseball part of it, this is still a really beautiful watch. They're doing this again with Hank Aaron. There will be 2,297 examples of this made, and that happens to be the number of RBIs that Hank Aaron had in his illustrious career that was mostly with the Milwaukee and Atlanta Braves. 21 seasons, I believe, with them. This one utilizes a similar theme as the Roberto Clemente one by pulling the colors of the jersey into the dial. So this is kind of a white base dial with blue and red accents that come together really beautifully. Again, there's no number or anything like that on the dial, so even if you're not into Henry Aaron or the Milwaukee or Atlanta Braves or anything like that, you should still find a lot to enjoy about this watch. This one will be priced at $2,500, and again, 2,297 pieces, referencing the number of RBIs that Hank Aaron had in his career. Our editor, Zach Kazan, was on hand at the Atlanta Braves game this week to see the watch and go hands-on with it, so we'll have a lot more on that one coming very soon. That is episode 60 of A Week in Watches. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so, and if you enjoyed this content, please be sure to leave a like and share. And finally, before we go, a quick shout out to The Timest for their comment on last week's video, asking us to come to Seattle with the Wind Up Watch Fair. I like the sound of that. I'll see what I can do.